Alright guys, I've got something I want to talk about. Now this video has nothing to do with any of the rest of the content on my channel, but this is a video I've been wanting to make for a very long time, and I don't have another channel with a following to put the video out to, so I figured using this one would be the best for people to see it. This is a very personal video to me, and I've been thinking about putting it out, so I just decided to go ahead and do it. So my apologies for the different subject matter, but hopefully some people will find this video useful. At 21 years old, when I was in the Army, I developed what I would call an addiction to alcohol. Now, many people, and this is one of the problems I'll speak about, many people would look at me and say, "Oh, you don't have a problem. You're not an alcoholic," all this stuff, because I didn't act in a way that bothered them. I wasn't mean, I wasn't aggressive, any of this. They enjoyed being around me when I was like that. But I could tell that it was a problem. What started as drinking every now and then turned into drinking every single weekend, turned into drinking twice a week, and every single time it was a binge. I was always chasing the buzz. I was always trying to feel that feeling of being intoxicated. I was not drinking for the sake of tasting the drink. I just wanted to feel it. So to me, I could tell this was a problem. And the other factor in this is I didn't like the way people viewed me because of how they interacted with me when I was drinking. I sort of got this reputation of being just this goofy, fun guy, whatever. But I don't want that. I want people to take me seriously, and nobody was taking me seriously when they just viewed me as the goofy guy, which is a result of the way that I acted, because most of the time that I was hanging out with people, I was drinking. So anyway, this is a video about alcohol, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I've certainly done lots and lots of research on this topic, but for the sake of keeping an unscripted video, I'm not going to be pulling up a bunch of numbers and statistics. I just want to plant a seed that maybe you guys can go and do the research yourselves to discover the things that I discovered, which led to me overcoming this addiction. I believe alcohol is a serious problem. Many people like to say the prohibition didn't work. And well, yes, of course, there were some issues with it. Crime happening because of the prohibition, bootlegging, things like this. But at the end of the day, less people were drinking. So in some ways, I feel that it did sort of work. But I'm not suggesting prohibition, and I'm also not here to tell anyone else that you're doing something wrong or any of this because maybe you like to drink. Lots of people like to drink. I loved it. I'm just giving you my experience, and I hope that some people can find this video helpful, because it's my opinion that many people have alcohol addictions that they will not admit that they do. Largely, this is because drinking alcohol every weekend is completely normalized in society. Drinking when you're with your friends, when you're out, all of these things is completely normalized. So now if a person is going out to eat with friends, they're gonna get a drink because that's what you do. If it's Friday night and you just got done with your work week, you're gonna drink because that's what you do. If it's Saturday night and your friends wanna hang out, you're gonna drink because that's what you do. This is completely normalized in society to the point where people who are drinking this often are not able to recognize the fact that they probably have an addiction to it. When somebody is not able to go to a social gathering without getting a drink, it's a good sign you might have an addiction. If you are at a family event and there are drinks and you just have to have some drinks, even though like maybe not many other people in your family are drinking, you probably have an addiction. Now, this was my experience. I would often go to family events and my people in my family might have one or maybe two drinks maximum, and I would just keep drinking. Like, oftentimes the beverages available would deplete simply because of me drinking them. And I was just known for this. I mean, and no one, and this is a big part of the problem. Nobody really came to me and said, hey, I think you might have a problem. Hey, this is a little, you're drinking a lot. They just kind of was like, oh, he likes to drink. He can put a lot down. And this is often the case because people, if you're not acting violent, if you're not acting this way or that way, or if it's not affecting your work, the general mentality in our society is that, oh, you're not an alcoholic. But that's just simply not true. It doesn't have to affect your work for you to be an alcoholic. If you can't go a week without drinking, you are an alcoholic. Now, again, I'm not doing this video to call people out. I just think that this needs to be discussed more. I would say that alcohol has been purposefully put into culture as this sort of celebrated great thing. If you go all the way back to the time when cigarettes and smoking was celebrated, big tobacco companies would suppress research and science on how dangerous cigarettes were for you simply to keep selling them. Well, alcohol companies do the exact same thing. I would say that it's probably likely that alcohol could be even worse than tobacco for you in many ways. If we're not talking about the health factors, we can at least talk about the fact that alcohol is intoxicating, it's dangerous, it makes you act stupid. Smoking a cigarette might be bad for your health physically, but you're not harming other people with your actions. You may be with the secondhand smoke, but you're not if you get in a car and smoke a cigarette, you're not going to crash into somebody and kill them. Alcohol has lots of other adverse health effects that people don't talk about that need to be addressed. I mean, your sleep is terrible. One of the most important things you can possibly do for your health is get good sleep. When you're drinking alcohol, you are not getting good sleep. You are not getting a restful, deep sleep. You might be waking up in the middle of the night, etc., etc. Obviously, there's the obvious ones that people do talk about, the liver issues, things like this, but alcohol deteriorates all of the organs in your body. In addition to this, it deteriorates your brain. The more you get drunk, the more often you get drunk, the less effective your brain is. It has long-term lasting side effects on your brain that are very damaging. It can literally make you stupid. All this science and medical research is out there. You can go and find it. It's just not paraded around. Like, now that we have a different cultural view of tobacco, all of that research is present for people to see. But with alcohol, it's much more suppressed. You have to actually go looking for it to find it. Or obviously, if you have a good doctor, most doctors will tell you drinking's bad. But there's a lot of stuff here that people don't really know about. One common effect is having issues with leaking bladder, for example. Alcoholics, people who drink a lot, often have to wake up in the middle of the night constantly having to go to the bathroom. Another one is weight gain, which also goes hand in hand with the last issue I said. But people think, oh, well, I just drink liquor. I just drink vodka or whatever, I'm not gaining weight. Well, that's not necessarily true. I mean, there are people you'll see who drink hard liquor who are very skinny. I would suspect that they probably don't eat a whole lot of food. It doesn't matter if you're drinking beer or liquor. Yes, beer has more calories. It could be a little more fattening. But liquor itself has lots of calories in it. And the bigger issue here is how it affects your metabolism. When you're bogging down your metabolism with alcohol, it's no longer able to process all of the other things that you've consumed. Your metabolism prioritizes alcohol as being it needs to be dealt with first. Because of this, if you eat a large pizza, the night of drinking, because whenever, let's face it, whenever we drink, we eat a bunch of terrible food. Well, that pizza is being put on the back burner and not getting burned off until all of that alcohol is dealt with, which I'm sure you know, if you've had a night of heavy drinking, this can take in several hours into the next day. At that point, eventually your body will start burning off the rest of the stuff unless it has already started storing it into fat. So, yeah, alcohol 100% will make you gain weight. I have my own experience with this. I was 130 pounds in high school. I was tiny. Now, this is for some other reasons as well. I was on a lot of ADHD medication when I was younger. I didn't eat much. But anyway, when I got off of that, and the end of my high school, I went up to 180 pounds. This is normal. This is what I should weigh. When I started drinking in the military, I gained 50 pounds, going up to 230 pounds. This was bad. I started having knee problems. I started having all these issues. And obviously, because I was in the military, I was running regularly. I was doing all these things, slamming all of that weight down on top of myself. And even with all of the exercise in the military, I was not losing weight because I was drinking alcohol and eating junk food. It wasn't until I got out of the military several years later that I finally did what needed to be done. And I, within myself, said, I have a problem and I need to fix it. And I, after several times of failing, I eventually got to the point where I successfully stayed away from alcohol entirely for 9 months. In this 9-month span, I lost all 50 pounds. Of course, I also was exercising, eating better food, all of these things at the same time. But that's a lot easier to do those things when you're not drinking alcohol. Once I reached my goal of getting back to 180 pounds, I decided to try drinking again. Curious if the time spent away from it would lead to me no longer having a problem. This was not the case. I continued to have this problem every time I tried drinking, and so I eventually decided again, I am not going to drink alcohol anymore. And that's where I've been for many months since that point, that I'm just done with alcohol completely. I think it's a terrible thing. Alcohol is literally poison. You are ingesting poison. The feeling of intoxication and being drunk is your body's reaction to being poisoned. It's what happens when your body is trying to handle the poison. This is bad stuff. This is not of nature. This is just terrible stuff to be putting into your body. You're putting fuel, poisonous fuel, into your body. Not fuel in a good sense, not what your body wants. This isn't vegetables and meat. This is alcohol. This is a serious problem. I found it far easier. Many people who drink a lot might feel that, you know, they feel kind of lazy, they don't get a lot done, it's hard to get up in the morning. Well, this is very true, because when I was drinking alcohol, I would lay in bed until 10, 11 a.m. I would hardly get anything done. I would drag myself out of bed. I would never exercise, none of this. When I stopped drinking alcohol, I started getting up at 6 a.m. Again, just naturally, the way I did when I was a kid. Because I would go to bed and I would get good, restful sleep. I would dream like crazy, the most vivid dreams. And I still do ever since I stopped drinking. Every night I have vivid, exciting dreams. Then I would wake up at 6 a.m. and have the entire day ahead of me, and I would be productive and I would get things done. In the last couple years, I've written and recorded several albums. I've written and published a novel. I've created this YouTube channel to the point where I was even making videos and uploading them every single day. I've slowed down on that now because I have a lot of other things I'm doing, work and other things. But my level of productivity is so much greater than it's ever been before. There's other reasons that play into this, and maybe I'll talk about those too in some later videos, like phone usage, for example, things like that. But alcohol is definitely one of the biggest ones. Alcohol is inherently addictive. People don't think this. A lot of people think, oh, well, smoking is addictive because nicotine, which is an addictive chemical. Alcohol doesn't have nicotine in it, but alcohol itself is inherently addictive. The feeling of it is inherently addictive. And again, there's plenty of studies on this. And just alcohol itself is addictive. Another thing I experienced when I was drinking often was maybe what I would call depression, where I would very frequently have days where I just did not feel like doing anything. Nothing would satisfy me. Is just awful. And today in our society, we have a depression epidemic. Like, so many people have depression. And I would suggest that, along with other things like poor diet and lack of exercise, etc., I think alcohol is one of the primary components to this. Um, many people drink. The majority of adults probably drink. And I would not be surprised if this contributes to the amount of depression that we see in our society. There's a reason for this. When you drink, your brain is being flooded with dopamine. And of course, when the alcohol wears off, your brain is now not flooded with dopamine and you just feel terrible. My mood used to be like this. Like, I would drink, it'd go up, and then it'd drop. I'd never get anything done. I had no motivation. I didn't want to do anything. When I stopped drinking alcohol, my mood is like this. Like, steady. I'm motivated, I'm driven, I'm productive, I'm happy to do things. I get dopamine hits from just accomplishing a task, something that would never happen when I used to drink. This stuff is serious. Like, I think that alcohol usage in our society partly is so big because things have been suppressed. When you're in school growing up, you learn alcohol is bad for you. When you go to the doctor, they tell you don't drink, drink responsibly, etc., etc. But they don't give you a detailed list of the science of why alcohol is bad for you. You can go and check out people like Andrew Huberman, Jordan Peterson, all these different people who have dealt with alcoholism and know the science behind it and the medical research, and they have great videos on this stuff. Whether, I know, like, Jordan Peterson might be kind of a controversial figure, but you need to be able to set aside the things, if you disagree with some things he says or whatever, okay, but he's right about the alcohol stuff. He has lots of research into this, and if we're just ignoring everything that people say because, oh, we don't like them, they're controversial, or they say something we don't like, I mean, we're screwed as a society at that point. So I would highly encourage people to set some of that stuff aside and actually look into things. The other reason I think this is so prevalent is it's an indication of a larger issue that we live in a selfish, self-serving society. Like, these days, we are so bound and driven by what makes me feel good, what's comfortable, whether it be obesity, like eating junk food, or being lazy, not exercising, or scrolling through TikTok, drinking alcohol, pornography addiction. All of these things are self-serving, trying to feel comfortable. But comfortable is bad. You do not grow and succeed if you're constantly seeking out comfort. The road less traveled, right, is the better road, the more difficult route. And the more difficult route is exercising, eating well, abstaining from temptations, not drinking alcohol. And guess what? When you do all that, you feel better. Like, you might think, oh, but I feel so comfortable. I like sitting on my couch and scrolling through TikTok and drinking drinks and blah, blah, blah. Okay, but how long have you actually spent trying to do the opposite of those things? Because I can tell you, if you successfully go a month without doing all those things, you're going to feel way better. I'm saying this from experience. So anyway, yeah, maybe I'll talk about this more in the future and get more in depth about it, but yeah, there's also societal people also justify it or they make it okay. Like your friends might say, "Oh, you don't have a problem, everything's fine," or "Why don't you come and drink?" You know, the typical peer pressure stuff. But people who are addicted to alcohol, who are drinking constantly, they enjoy doing it. They are looking for justification to do so. If their friends and family are not telling them they have a problem, that's a justification to continue drinking. But in reality, I mean, nobody should be drinking. It's terrible for you, it's not natural. But, people who can control it and handle it, have a drink or two at a time here and there, you know, do you. I'm not criticizing you as a person or nothing like that. That's totally fine. But many people, and I would say the vast majority of people cannot do that. Very many people want to be getting drunk constantly and they cannot control it and they're looking for justification to continue doing it. So, yeah, I'll probably, maybe I'll talk about this stuff more in the future. Maybe I'll actually take notes and all the statistics and all this stuff and break it down further. But I really wanted to talk about this, and I know it's not my typical sort of subject matter, but I'm branching out and I've wanted to talk about this for a long time. I think change starts with exposure. I mean, honestly, like talking about this stuff, more having more people talk about it. Our culture today, the youth, Gen Z, especially, people are becoming more focused on fitness, on doing all these things that were not popular to do for so long. Like doing the good things is becoming more popular, and so with more and more people talking about um, the problems with alcohol and not drinking, I decided to talk about my story with it. So that's that. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. But this is just kind of a video for everybody. So anyway, see you guys in the next one.